All right, hello and welcome to another episode of Jake's Takes. And this is an NWSL Week 8 breakdown of the Portland Thorns, who were at the Chicago Red Stars in NWSL action. So this is a series that kind of looks at kind of the tactical breakdown between the two teams. And this game in NWSL action was actually a really important game because it was the first place Chicago Red Stars hosting the Portland Thorns, who are in the playoff spaces and undefeated, but they aren't winning as many games. They're 3 wins and 5 ties on the season, so not the greatest win record, but they're still undefeated, and means that they're difficult to beat, which made it a very intriguing matchup. So let's get the intro done here, and I'm just going to go right into it and give you the starting lineup for the Chicago Red Stars. They really settled on that 4-4-2 diamond midfield. This is, I think, my third time looking at this team, and again we see that the team is not really settled on how they really want to utilize Horta, Hoy, and Press. I know a lot of fans are really disappointed in the fact that they can't get the best out of Hoy and Horta when Press is around. At the same time, Press will get you that 1 goal a game at least, and as long as that's all you need in the game, then so be it. But again, we're seeing Horta being pushed into the midfield, to the right side of midfield, and that diamond. And it's one of those things that as a coach, you want all your best players on the field and you want all your attacking options on the field. But at the same time, when you have such a defined system and the roles are so defined, I think it's kind of a square peg round hole situation where Horta really needs to be closer to goal to be used at her highest capacity. Again, we see one of these key things in this formation is that Short and Gilliland really are aggressive attacking forward, and really when Chicago was attacking their best is when they could get one or two of them both pushing up and really attacking the Portland Thorns. So on the Portland Thorns side of things, we really saw they've settled on this 4-2-3-1 formation. Christine Sinclair has really settled into this number 10 role. Nadia Nadim has been pushed wide outright, and Dagny Brigner's daughter has settled up as that target forward, that hold up forward. And it's really interesting that Nadim has been pushed wide. Again, it's not her probably most comfortable position, but her work rate and her willingness to track back and really hold shape and adapt to this role is something that is making it difficult to beat the Portland Thorns at the moment. And actually, Christine Sinclair, who I was a little skeptical at the beginning of the season, and that number 10 role, we've always seen her as a center forward. And when you're playing a Dagny Brigner's daughter at center forward instead of her, you really start to think like, why are we making this decision? And you'll see throughout the game, especially early on, that Sinclair's movement and ability to find pockets of space as that number 10 really is what drove the Thorns to get a point in this game. And we'll see that trend as we move along here. So this is an early situation that Portland really showed how good they are defensively on the road and why it's so hard for teams to break them down. Here we get the ball sprayed wide to Erin Gilliland, I believe, and the ball does not play great to her, so she has to take a bit of a wild touch to it, and she's quickly closed down by both Klingenberg, who was very aggressive and stepping up to mark her on her overlap, and Tobin Heath. And we'll see in the next image that Tobin Heath actually is going to nick this ball free and play it to Megan Klingenberg. So at this point, now we're in transition. And as you can see, Christine Sinclair is at the top of the middle of the screen there, right above the text Red Star ad from the broadcast. And as we move along, the ball goes out of play. So Megan Klingberg is going to take a throw, and we see that Sinclair again is making some movement. She's pulling away from Danny Colaprico and is able to kind of dictate the attack for Portland. Here she turns and is able to find Tobin Heath, who has tucked inside because of the throw-in. Christine Sinclair goes wide. Tobin Heath fills his space in behind that Christine Sinclair has left. And again, we see this 4-4-2 diamond from Chicago really taking shape. When you're on defense, if you're on the left or the right side of this diamond midfield, whichever side is not on the ball. So in this situation, Megan Klingberg had the ball on the left flank for Chicago. So Vanessa DiBernardo is what we call the shuttler in this diamond midfield. So she's really she becomes kind of another de facto defensive midfielder alongside Danny Colaprico to kind of balance out the shape of the diamond. But in this situation, she doesn't win the ball, neither does Colaprico, and Heath is able to spray it wide to Ali Long. And one of the things that you really want to do when you're playing up against a diamond midfield is being able to switch the field quickly, because when you are playing against a diamond, the diamond will collapse side to side, and it really doesn't really close down that long switch. And as we can see, Ali Long is at the bottom of our screen, and the arrow is pointing into that space. Tobin Heath's going to nick it down to Ali Long and play her into space, and that's really when the transition moment occurs. And as she goes forward, again, I'm looking at that Christine Sinclair movement. She's already finding space. She's making her move. Chicago is, backpedaling. Ali Long gets that ball wide to Nadia Nadim, who's done a really good job of staying wide of Casey Short there. And as we can see, Sinclair again in that little pocket of space behind Colaprico over her shoulder where she can't see her. She's in between the center back and Erin Gilliland on the far side, making a really intelligent run. As the ball comes in, we see that she's attacking it. And she beats Erin Gilliland to the ball, and only save from Alyssa Nair is what keeps this opportunity from resulting in the first goal. Again, here's one of an image before the build up for their first goal, and actually it's a simple play, just a long ball upfield from a free kick from Franch. And it's not necessarily a hoof ball, it's just a long ball that you're looking for a Dagny Bruggersar, who's 5'11", and really good in the air. So when you have that type of a talent, you really want to make sure you're utilizing it. And it's just a simple through long ball. And you've got a Christine Sinclair in that number 10 role who knows when to make the run. As a 10 or a shadow striker, you're really looking to play off that hold-up striker. And as the hold-up striker drops in, you go in behind. And as we can see, Dagny Bruggersdottir brings Julie Johnston out of position. And Julie Johnston is really good in the air, and even she can't compete with this the positioning from Dagny. And Dagny just flicks it through, simple through pass into Christine Sinclair. Samantha Johnson actually reads the play fairly well, and she tracks it down. And as we can see, she's got Christine Sinclair beat, but Sinclair is very talented, very experienced, knows when to chase. And as we can see, she puts Johnson under immense pressure. Now I've highlighted an area just outside the box that I've called the safe pass back zone. As a defender, when you're looking to pass it back to your goalkeeper in this position, you really want to put it to one side of the goal or the other, because in situations like this, say it takes a bobble and goes over the foot of the goalkeeper, goes in the goal. So you don't want to put it directly on frame, because things can happen. And as we are going to see here in a second, there's a reason why you don't want to have an underhit back pass right up the gut on target anyway. So as we can see, Sinclair reads the ball really well. Alyssa Nair is really stranded from that back pass, a mishit from Sam Johnson. And, as a goalkeeper at this point, you really are thinking, just clear it. But you really want to be smart about it, There's two options here. You can either play it to the side and behind you for a corner. You could play it to the side out of bounds. I've highlighted, if she just turned her hip a little bit more, she could have put the ball to the opposite side of the field and out of play. There are so many options that she could have gone with, but instead she just elects to hit it as hard as she could. And unfortunately, right up the middle is where Sinclair is running at you, and it hits Sinclair and it just goes in. And it's just one of those fluky goals. One moment of lapse in judgment really puts you under. And at that point, you're 1-0 down. And then throughout the game, Portland really highlighted their pressing ability as a unit and their collective shape as a team on defense. Here we go. The ball gets played up the line to I believe that's Huerta coming back to the ball. And as you can see, there's that five player midfield for Portland. Very compact, very tightly knit. And when she gets the ball, it's just going to collapse on her and win the ball back for Portland. And that's something, as Chicago, they're a team that with a diamond midfield, you have numbers that you can overload either the side or the middle with, because that diamond kind of rolls from side to side. And when you have a team that likes to keep the ball on the ground, make combination passes, you have to be compact, and that's exactly what Portland did in this game, and that's why they're coming away with a point. Here again, later in the half, all of Portland's team is in half of the field, and arguably even like they're all in that channel of the field, even a third of the field. That's how compact it was. Chicago was making it compact, and Portland made it even more compact, making it so hard for Chicago to play combination plays, making it hard for Colaprico and DiBernardo to really unlock their defense. And that's why this game was a little frustrating to watch, because Portland set out with a very specific game plan to frustrate and break up plays and press. And when you're Chicago, all you're left to do is to play long balls. And, they got their goal because of a longer pass from, this is Julie Johnston on the ball. And, Coach Rory Dames in last game versus Sky Blue was lamenting the fact that he didn't have Julie Johnston on the field because she has urgency with playing out of the back, and that was something that Katie Naughton or Sam Johnson weren't exhibiting. And on this play, starts with a Julie Johnston long ball, not overly direct, because she picks out Casey Short on the wing. And this just happens to be a case where they happen to get their fullback into space and in behind that line of defense. And as we can see, even Klingenberg has stepped high on Gilliland, and now she has to turn and make a desperate run back to try to catch up with Alyssa Motts at this point. And Short does a really good job. She takes a couple touches, gets her head up, and makes a great cross. And at this point, Alyssa Motts has plenty of space from separation from Klingenberg to chest down this ball and make a dangerous chance for Chicago. And her touch just happens to cushion it perfectly for Kristen Press. And she's in zone 14, which is that dangerous zone right at the top of the box where you can get that's where most of the assists and shots on target come as a result from. And this is Kristen Press territory, and she just unleashes it. French, probably a little unlucky that she didn't save it, because I think she got fingertips to it and tipped it off the bar and had it kind of hit the bar, hit the ground, kind of backpedaled in to the goal, which was, not the prettiest goal, but that's all you really need if you're Chicago. And the rest of the game, I could go back to that image not that one, but the defensive compactness from Portland really, this type of an image is what the rest of the game really looked like. It was Portland closing up shop, closing space, and making it very difficult for Chicago to really press and get into the space. And that's all they really need. And for a team to not lose on the road, and get a point against the number one team in the league at the moment, that's all they really want. They can go back to Portland and win their home games, and they'll be fine. So that's really how this game really played out. It was a game where Portland did a great job of frustrating, and they relied on moments from their special players like Christine Sinclair, who are veterans of the league and have that experience to really put pressure on and capitalize on mistakes. So that's really the story of this game. So I will leave you now with a little preview for next week. I will be breaking down Washington Spirit versus the Orlando Pride. So tune in next week and check out my latest Jake Steak. So enjoy watching this NWSL match. We'll be following on Twitter. Don't forget to subscribe and follow. So I will talk to you all later.